Hello! Michael here, looking at Psalms 105 for a devotion today. A psalm which may be subtitled, Tell of All His Wondrous Works. And today we're focusing on verse 31 through to 35 for our devotion. Let's go ahead and read those 5 verses. Verse 31. He spake, and there came divers sorts of flies, and lice in all their coasts. Verse 32. He gave them hail for rain, and flaming fire in their land. 33. He smote their vines also, and their fig trees, and brake the trees of their coasts. 34. He spake, and the locusts came, and caterpillars, and that without number. And 35. And did eat up all the herbs in their land, and devoured the fruit of their ground. And as we turn to the treasure of David for the exposition, let's go ahead and read verse 31 again. He spake, and there came divers sort of flies, and lice in all their coasts. And Spurgeon exposits. He spake. See the power of the divine word. He had only to say it, and it was done. And there came divers sorts of flies. Insects of various annoying kinds came up in infinite hordes, a mixture of biting, stinging, buzzing gnats, mosquitoes, flies, beetles, and other vermin, such as make men's flesh their prey, the place of deposit for their eggs, and the seat of peculiar torments. And lice in all their coasts. These utterly loathsome forms of life were as the dust of the ground, and covered their persons, their garments, and all they ate. Nothing is too small to master man when God commands it to assail him. The sons of Ham had despised the Israelites, and now they were made to loathe themselves. The meanest beggars were more approachable than the proud Egyptians. They were reduced to the meanest condition of filthiness and the most painful state of irritation. What arm is the Lord can send forth when once his right arm is bared for war? And what scorn he pours on proud nations when he fights them, not with angels, but with lice. Pharaoh had little left to be proud of when his own persons were invaded by filthy parasites. It was a slap in the face which ought to have humbled his heart. But alas, man, when he is altogether polluted, still maintains his self-conceit, and when he is the most disgusting object in the universe, he still vaunts himself. Surely pride is moral madness. Oy. At verse 32 that reads, He gave them hail for rain, and flaming fire in their land. And Spurgeon exposits, He gave them hail for rain. They seldom had rain, but now the showers assumed the form of heavy, destructive hailstorms, and being accompanied with a hurricane and thunderstorm, they were overwhelming, terrible and destructive, and flaming fire in their land. The lightning was peculiarly vivid, and seemed to run along upon the ground, or fall in fiery lakes. Thus all the fruit of the trees and the harvest of the fields were either broken to pieces or burned on the spot, and universal fear bowed the hearts of men to the dust. No phenomena was more appalling to the most of mankind than those which attended a thunderstorm. Even the most audacious blasphemers quail when the dread artillery of heaven opens fire upon the earth. Yes. And verse 33, He smote their vines also, and their fig trees, and brake the trees of their coasts. He smote their vines and their fig trees, so that all hope of gathering their best fruits was gone, and the trees were injured for future bearing. All the crops were destroyed, and these were mentioned as being the more prominent forms of their produce, used by them both at festivals and in common meals, and break the trees of their coasts. From end to end Egypt, the trees were battered and broken by the terrible hailstorm. God is in earnest when he deals with proud spirits. He will either end them or mend them. In verse 34 that reads, He spake, and the locusts came, and caterpillars, and that without number. He spake, and the locusts came, and caterpillars, and that without number. One word from the captain, and the armies leap forward. The expression is very striking and sets forth the immediate results of the divine word. The caterpillar is called the licker because it seems to lick up every green thing as in a moment. Perhaps the caterpillar here meant is still the locust in another form. That locust swarm in countless armies is a fact of ordinary observation, and the case would be worse on this occasion. We have ourselves ridden for miles through armies of locusts, and we have seen with our own eyes how completely they devour every green thing. The description is not strained when we read, and did eat up all the herb in their land, and devoured the fruit of their ground. Nothing escapes these ravenous creatures. They even climb the trees to reach any remnant of foliage which may survive. Commissioned as these were by God, we may be sure they would do their work thoroughly and leave behind them nothing but a desolate wilderness. And verse 35 that reads, And did eat up all the herbs in their land, and devoured the fruit of their ground. Spurgeon exposits. Did eat up all the herbs. The locusts had devoured every green herb and every blade of grass, and had it not been for the reeds on which our cattle currently subsisted while we skirted the banks of the river, the journey must have been discontinued, at least in the line that had been proposed. The larvae, as generally is the case in this class of nature, are such more voracious than the perfect insect. Nothing that is green seems to come amiss to them. The traces of their route over the country are very obvious for many weeks after they have passed it, the surface appearing as if swept by a broom, or as if a harrow had been drawn over it. John Barr, 1764 to 1849. Trust you enjoyed the meditation. It is very vivid, isn't it? Michael here declaring yet again, Jesus is Lord. Until next time, be blessed.